Mel Gibson has resurfaced and appeared on the Joe Rogan program. A very, very disturbed Mel Gibson. I want to play just a couple of clips, and there are a bunch of different interesting things here. First and foremost, Rogan asks Mel Gibson, "What do you think about evolution?" And in some sense, who cares what Mel Gibson thinks about evolution? Because he doesn't know anything about evolution, and he's an actor. It's just not his area of expertise. One of the things that does seem to be going on is that Joe Rogan is increasingly going down this sort of Christian path. He recently had on, I don't even remember the guy's name, but he's a Christian apologist who appeared on Rogan's program and spent hours claiming that every biblical story is true and talking about how Jonah quite literally was eaten by a whale and then was resurrected. And I mean, it was like wacky, wacky stuff. And Rogan sort of seems like he's getting more and more pulled into it. Okay, so in comes Mel Gibson and says the following when Rogan asks him about evolution.
What are your thoughts on evolution?
Wow. Eh. The Darwin thing?
Yeah.
I don't really go for it.
No?
Yeah. Ice Age, dinosaurs, what did they turn into? I mean, things became extinct at some point. I don't think I was some kind of legless thing that crawled out of the ocean. I don't think I came from that.
Well, there you go. I mean, hard to argue with that. Mel just doesn't think he came from it. What's the value in asking Mel Gibson what he thinks about evolution? I mean, really, who cares what he thinks about evolution? And you might be saying, well, at least that opinion doesn't really damage anybody, right? Well, then he got into the cancer cures. Yes, Mel Gibson getting into the cancer cures. I'll play it for you and then we will discuss.
I'll tell you a good story.
Okay.
I have 3 friends. All 3 of them had stage 4 cancer. All 3 of them don't have cancer right now at all. And they had some serious stuff going on.
And what did they take?
Jesus. They took what you've heard they've taken.
Ivermectin.
Fenbendazole.
Fenbendazole, yeah.
That stuff.
Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot.
They drank hydrochloride something or other.
There's studies on that now where people have proven that
people
they've...
drinking methylene blue and stuff like that.
Yeah, methylene blue, which was a fabric dye.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a textile dye. And now they find it has profound effects on your mitochondria.
Yep.
Yeah.
This stuff works, man.
There's a lot of stuff that does work, which is very strange because, again, it's profit. When you hear about things that are demonized and that turn out to be effective, you always wonder, well, what is going on here? How is our medical institutions, how have they failed us so that things that do cure you are not promoted because they're not profitable?
This is one of the most tired arguments around pharmaceuticals. And we've already looked at this profit argument, We've talked about it with aspirin, right? I mean, a lot of these things that come from nature, if they really do work, then we isolate that molecule and we make it into a medication. What was it? Aspirin originally came from, was it the skin of what tree was it? Anyway, birch tree or something along those lines. Statins for cholesterol, which everybody says it's the most profitable thing in the world. Well, listen, number one, it also came from something found in nature, which was isolated, and it's also dirt cheap. So not a lot of money is being made on these statins. It would be important to mention. So when someone makes a claim like Mel Gibson, how do we evaluate it? Because he goes, 3 friends, stage 4 cancer cured. Here's what they did. If we really wanted to take this seriously, we first would say, did they really have cancer? Someone I know recently said they ran into someone who told them they cured their own prostate cancer. And then when you look into the story, they never had a confirmed prostate cancer, right? So that you cured nothing, essentially. So we would, of course, have to know, did these people really have cancer? What kind of cancer? Was it really stage 4? did they only take ivermectin and fenbendazole and methylene blue, or did they take that plus also doing the prescribed treatments? Do they really no longer have cancer? You need to answer all of those questions first to even be able to engage with this stuff. But let's talk about the three things that were mentioned: ivermectin, fenbendazole, and methylene blue. I am open to anything that would be a safe and effective treatment. And these three things are being studied. Could they have played a role? I don't know, but let's look at the science. Ivermectin. Ivermectin's an antiparasitic drug. It has shown some anti-cancer activity in lab studies, okay? The mechanism through which ivermectin might help with some types of cancer in combination with other treatments is that it might inhibit certain pathways. It might induce death in some cancer cells. It could disrupt the energy production in cancer cells. Now you would say, well, what dose of ivermectin for what types of cancer? Of course, that's the critical question. The evidence we have right now is in vitro, which is very far from working in humans, and in some animals. It's not validated, and the concern is that the doses a human would have to take of ivermectin to have this same effect would be so high that they might be damaging. Should it be studied? Absolutely. Should Mel Gibson show up and just say, my friends cured themselves with ivermectin? I don't know that that's exactly responsible. Then we have fenbendazole. Fenbendazole is a deworming medication for animals. It is being looked at for anti-cancer properties. Now, what would be the mechanism? How would fenbendazole work on cancer? And remember, cancer is thousands of different things, okay? You know, hundreds of cancers with thousands of different variations, mutations, etc. The way that the fenbendazole might work in certain situations would be by disrupting microtubule formation in some cancer cells. It's a similar mechanism to chemo, right? It would reduce glucose uptake in cancer cells, which is where cancer cells get energy. This is all maybe stuff. We have preclinical studies in cell lines and in some animal models. Super high doses of fenbendazole might do that. Is it safe for humans? We don't know. Is it effective in humans? We don't know. The doses required in humans to do the same thing might actually be unsafe. Should it be studied? Sure, study it, absolutely. And then finally, methylene blue. This one's getting really, really popular. Methylene blue is a dye with applications in medical diagnostics, and it is considered to have potential anti-cancer properties. It's hypothetical. The idea is that it would interfere with mitochondrial respiration in cancer cells and maybe damage the cancer cells to take this stuff methylene blue. It's being studied on cancer cell lines. This is sort of like in vitro type stuff. It's before animal stuff. It's before human stuff. There's research that if you combine it with photodynamic therapy, you might make the photodynamic therapy more effective. We've got to look at it. No thorough human testing, huge side effect risk, neurotoxicity at the required doses to achieve this effect. And so is this stuff intriguing? Is there something there to say, let's look at ivermectin, fenbendazole, and methylene blue? Yes. Is Mel Gibson showing up on Rogan and saying, my friends cured themselves with it responsible? I don't think it is responsible. And what's important is that even though methylene blue, fenbendazole, and ivermectin are now very popular in the sort of online space, there are hundreds of similar things that are also being tested with similar lack of empirical validation, just like a theoretical use that we don't hear about because they're not popular. So the other important thing to mention is there's no like conspiracy around not talking or not using ivermectin and fenbendazole and methylene blue. It's that, like hundreds or thousands of other things, we've identified a potential anti-cancer property. It's been looked at maybe in vitro, maybe in cell lines, maybe some super high dose animal testing. You know, sometimes when we say it seems to have worked in animals, what that means is that when they stuffed an animal with such a high dose that it killed them, it might have destroyed some cancer cells as well. To go from we killed cancer cells in a rat with a dose so high that the rat died, to this is useful in humans, that is a very far leap. So I have no issue with studying this stuff, exploring the anti-cancer properties, of course. But when Mel Gibson shows up and goes, 3 of my friends cured stage 4 cancer with some combination of these things, were they on the traditional treatment as well? Were they getting standard of care or not? We have no idea. The responsibility of platforming it, I don't know. I'll leave it up to you to decide. Do you ever feel like it's tough to stay focused? I've sometimes struggled with it, and Brain FM's focus music has really helped me find my groove. I used to think background music from Spotify or YouTube would help me focus, but I ended up distracted, and then I'd start looking for better tracks that would actually help. Then I found Brain FM. It's not just another music app. It's really music designed for when you are trying to do deep work. It's science-backed. The modes can be for deep work or more creativity focus or motivation. They have a turbo mode designed to support ADHD brains. Brain FM's music works within minutes and it delivers results. A peer-reviewed study showed that Brain FM's music boosts attention, especially for people with ADHD tendencies. Brain FM's focus music is the only music made to support ADHD brains. And Brain FM is the only music app funded by the National Science Foundation because of their unique audio technology that changes the patterns in your brain. With Brain FM, I am locked in. The distractions go away. The productivity just happens. And my audience can try it for free for 30 days when you go to brain.fm/Pacman. The link is in the description.